My presentation is on Back to the Future 2. You may or may not have seen Back to the Future 2, but the basic plot idea is Martin McFly and Doc Brown travel to a futuristic 2015. Clearly this is what Tottenham Court Road looks like today in 2015. In this futuristic 2015, there are many wondrous technologies, hoverboards, self-tying shoelaces and flying cars. But in my opinion, the most important technology is the Mr.Fusion Home Energy Reactor. This coffee grinder shaped device could be the most important technology ever invented. It is a fusion reactor that is able to use ordinary household waste as a fuel. But how realistic is this, and could it ever be possible? Well, first we must look at what is nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion is a process that powers our sun, and we hope that one day could be able to power our homes and cities of the future. It is a process of joining lighter nuclei together to form heavier nuclei. And in this process, the total mass of the heavier nuclei is less than the total mass of the lighter nuclei. And this mass which is lost is converted to energy through E equals mc squared. This process can only occur in our stars and in the sun, as we require high temperatures and high pressures to force the light charges together close enough to allow fusion to occur. In Back to the Future 2, Doc Brown uses ordinary household waste as a fuel for the Mr.Fusion Home Energy Reactor. He uses a banana, a can and other household waste. But how realistic is this? Well, first we must look at what do we use today. Current reactors use deuterium and tritium, and the reason for this can be seen on the average binding energy per nucleon diagram. The isotopes of hydrogen are at the top of the diagram, and as you move down the diagram, less energy is released during fusion. This is why we couldn't use ordinary household waste as a fuel, as the complex compounds and heavier elements mean that low amount of energy will be released during fusion. But could it ever be possible to use ordinary household waste as a fuel? Well, to do this, we would have to extract the hydrogen from the fuel, and this requires large amount of energy at the moment, so that as a fuel source this is not viable. But in the future, potentially more energy efficient methods could be made that allow this to be possible. In Back to the Future 1, Doc Brown says the flux capacitor requires 1.21 gigawatts of power to allow the DeLorean to travel in time, which would have to be provided by the Mr.Fusion Home Energy Reactor. Current reactors are only able to generate 16 megawatts of power, and future reactors are only able to generate 500 megawatts of power, which is not even half the amount needed for the flux capacitor. And considering these estimations are for about 50 to 60 years in the future, it'll be a long time before we see 1.21 gigawatt power levels from a fusion device. The Mr.Fusion Home Energy Reactor was able to fit in the back of a DeLorean. Reactors at JET in Oxford have a radius of about 2.96 meters, and the construction site at IATA in the south of France has an area of about 60 football fields, and the reactor itself will be 73 meters tall. And considering this is meant to fit in the back of a DeLorean, it's not likely. But there is new research in the field of fusion. Professor Tom Jarboe and Lockheed Martin have both said that potentially smaller reactors could be better for fusion. And Lockheed Martin has said that they will be able to fit a fusion reactor on the back of a truck in the next 10 years. So potentially fusion reactors may get to the point where they're small enough to fit in the back of a DeLorean. So, is it possible? By the end of the year? No. Most reactors today are in their fundamental stages, and to think that we can have one that's small enough yet powerful enough to power the DeLorean is absurd. Could it be done by the end of the century? Maybe, but that depends on how much money and research goes into the field of fusion. But not having a reactor by the end of the year could be a good thing for Doc Brown, because if he had strapped a fusion reactor to the back of the DeLorean, he'd probably be dead now from all the high-speed neutrons being thrown off by the reactor. So every cloud has a silver lining. Thank you for watching.